So a female powerlifter says that she faces a 2-year ban for speaking out on the unfairness of biological males in competitions. Now, when you talk about unfairness, we're going to get into some numbers that are in powerlifting are mind-blowing. The disparity between female powerlifter and male powerlifter. I mean, the numbers are shocking. So, and her just speaking out on this issue has got her basically censored. And you know what? You may need to just step aside and let those whatever come in and compete. Here, let's get into it. Here we go. Canadian April Hutchinson made the revelations on X, which is formerly known as Twitter. Tweet. Powerlifter April Hutchinson said Tuesday she faces a multi-year ban from the Canadian Powerlifting Union for speaking out about the organization's transgender inclusion policies. Hutchinson posted a notice seemingly from the Canadian Powerlifting Union addressing a complaint against her from August. The topic concerned Hutchinson's conduct on social media. What she was doing is she was pointing out that, all right, let's get down to the numbers. Andre's total weight lifted in squat, bench, and deadlift, 3 main powerlifting moves, resulted in a final score of 600 kilograms. 600 kilograms. So multiply that by 1,200 and multiply it by another 0.2. It's like 2,200 pounds. No, it's 1,400 pounds, something like that, which was over 200 kilograms, about 440 pounds more than her closest opponent. 440 pounds throughout 3 lifts, right? That is a mass. Why even bother with the competition? That's ridiculous. That's nowhere near. It's not competitive. It's like taking some kid in kindergarten and say, hey, I'm going to need you to do a 100-meter race against Usain Bolt, and we'll just see how this goes. We'll just see how this works out. Because, I mean, you're both, we're deeming you to be similar competitors. 200 kilograms is 440 pounds. And that is the spread between them, right? That's the spread. So we go 597.5 kilos down to 387.5 kilograms for the female competitor, for the true female competitor. With that total, Andre set a new Canadian women's national record at the championship, while it's also being an unofficial women's world record. This is some dude that is probably an okay male competitor. I mean, look at that. I mean, okay. If you go through puberty as a male, you have got a massive, massive physiological advantage. You just do, right? This is where some of this progressive stuff is like, we want everybody to be able to compete. We just want everybody to, have a fair time. I do too. And that's why I don't think men should compete against women. Biological males. If you were born that way, you went through puberty that way, it's just not a fair fight, right? It's just not a fair fight. I now face a 2-year ban by the CPU for speaking publicly about the unfairness of biological males being allowed to taunt female competitors and loot their winnings, Hutchinson wrote. I mean, this is so one-sided. It just doesn't make any sense. Why are we even doing this? This is ridiculous. Apparently, I have failed in my gender role duties as supporting an actress in the horror show that is my sport right now. Naturally, the CPU deemed my written private complaint of the male bullying to be frivolous and vexatious. I don't even know what vexatious means. Should probably look that up before I read that. But, I'm going to go with frivolous and ridiculous. How about that? In a separate post, Hutchinson wrote that a 13-page letter was sent to the organization in October debunking all accusations. I don't think you don't have to accuse anybody of anything. You just have to point to the numbers, which we concluded when you've got a spread of 440 pounds, most of the time in powerlifting competitions, they come down to very, very small margins. Because everybody is so competitively similar. because they're all doing the same lifts. They're super strong people within their categories, within their weight, within their sex. And to have this kind of thing, a new Canadian women's national record in the championship, it's like, what? Why? That's a dude lifting. That's a dude who's calling himself a woman now. How is that fair in any way, shape, or form? All right. So that's item number one. How about this one? We've got high school girls field hockey player loses teeth, injured by shot from male opponent. All right. We're going to watch the video on this. Let's just watch a little video. This is there's no up close video of this, but you'll see the reaction here. So we're looking at this girl here. And look at all the girls walking away. These girls are just absolutely freaked out. She's lost a bunch of her front teeth because they're playing with the dude. You got a bunch of screaming and you got girls just, this isn't good. Let's watch that reaction one more time because I think it's important. Now, we don't have a trans player here and we'll talk about it in a second. You can just like, oh my word. Oh, not good. The girls just walk away. She must have just been bleeding out from her mouth. Just, ugh. So what you had there, what that little deal is, males are allowed to play on female teams in Massachusetts because of the Equal Play Act. So if you've got a league, this is from Riley Gaines. She is the swimmer who said, hey, I lost to you-know-who, and this isn't fair. Riley's been very, very vocal. So you've got a situation in Massachusetts where if you have a sports league and you don't have a sports league for both sexes, men and women, then one from the other sex can go play in the league that you have. So the shot was taken by a male member of the Swampscott girls field hockey team, Rooney said in his letter to parents. Following the on-field horror, Rooney is calling for a change in the Massachusetts Interscholastic Association rules that have been in place since the 1970s. Well, there's probably a reason at this level that you don't have guys playing with girls. If you're a dude and you're willing to take a shot from another dude, that's fine. In the mouth with, hardball. That's fine. This is field hockey. This is not lacrosse. So you take that shot to the mouth. I mean, you could see her she just literally dropped to her knees immediately. And then everybody else is like, you could see it was hard. The first time I watched this video, it was hard to tell who really got shot because the reaction from all the other girls on the playing field was like, oh, you could just see him cringing and walking away because it must have been apparent when they looked at her that she, lost her teeth, blood's just spewing out. She's just this literal horror show because she just took one right to the head, right to the face from a dude because the state allows. I mean, what guy is, hey, I want to play against the girls. This will be fun. We're not talking flag frisbee here, right? No. And if girls want to play in a men's sport, and if they're willing to take that chance, but I think if most of these girls had the option of saying, yeah, I'd rather field hockey, I would probably rather just play against girls. I think that's reasonable. I think that's understandable. And that's how it should be because there's such a physical disparity. Now, not to say that, the girl who got hit, could that have happened to a dude? Absolutely. You bet. 100%. But the fact that it happened, from a guy, to me, it just kind of makes it worse, right? It's just like, what are we even doing here? So those are some examples of, okay, this just shouldn't be happening. You just shouldn't have, some sports, I think it's okay because it's more of a level playing field. But when any sport comes down to a physical advantage to those who are bigger, stronger, and faster, I'm a hard no-go, like swimming, right? I mean, you got that Leah Thomas in there. I mean, that's a guy. That's a guy swimming, right? That's a guy swimming. And each one needs to use their own locker rooms, period. Period. Just period. I mean, there's no question there. No question there at all, right? Like some guy, I identify as a female now. It's like, okay, yeah, but you still got a wiener. Therefore, you got to go where the other people who have wieners go to the bathroom. That's where you got to go. That's where you're going to need to change. You know what I mean? And this whole construct of, nah, you can use it. It's fine. The girls won't mind. Who doesn't love a crowd in the women's locker room? Wildly invasive, right? Wildly invasive. Just like taking one to the mouth in field hockey, because we got this rule. Oh, we got to let everybody play all the sports. No, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, because this is why. Somebody wants to take that shot. Yeah. Well, hit me up. I want to have surgery on my front teeth. The thing that you face everybody with, your lips get all destroyed. Your gums probably receded back into your mouth. I mean, if you're a dude and you want to take that on, you want to be in a boxing, match and just get beaten on by another dude, I say, hey, if that's your thing, if Fight Club is your deal, then go for it. But this disparity where you've got the women competing against the men, that to me, and oftentimes like the power lifter, they don't have a choice, right? They're being told, you need to stand down. This is what we're doing. And it's wildly unfair to me. And if you have a girl coming up and she's competing, and then you got somebody come along that, is identifying as a woman and they really aren't, and they blow your daughter away, in whatever measure of physical fitness that they're doing, that to me is just like, that's not even a sport. This is just some wild, unfair stuff. And that whole argument that there's no physical difference, it's like, what? There's a massive, massive advantage if you've gone through puberty as a male. Testosterone levels just go through the roof, right? You get that ability to make some muscle. That's why when you're before puberty, you don't have a lot of muscle. And then after that, you become a man and yeah. And the bigger ones can really throw down. And then all of a sudden you identify as a woman and, you're allowed to compete against women. That's shameful. That is shameful. That's what I have to say on that one. So I had another, I can't find the article. I think it's on Discord, and it was about, female grapplers, like jujitsu. Just going to the mat. I watched a video of a 135-pound female take out a 200-pound biological male identifying as a woman, and because she was just so much technically better. But had it been 135 pounds versus another 135-pound female, this one gal would have just cleaned clock because she was so strong. But you put them up against a 200-pound male, it's just not really a fair fight when it comes to most of these sports where physical strength and quickness and speed and agility are all part of the, overall sport. But what we've got going on in some of the grappling and some of the jujitsu type sports is female competitors are saying, nah, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt because, somebody just reefing on my head or doing something because the men are so much stronger. Even the ones that identify as female are inherently wildly stronger. That's the whole thing. It's like the beginning of this podcast, a 200 kilogram spread in the difference between the winner and the second place competitor. That's not a sport. That is not competition. That is just outright mockery of what it should be. And I think everybody knows it except these officials who are being dictated by leadership. Nope, we got to let them we got to let them all compete. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And it's so one-sided. Because how often do you see a female voluntarily, I'll go compete with the guys? We're seeing examples of that in football, but it's usually because they're a kicker. Right? Not a lot of physical confrontation going on in there. You don't see the female kicker kicking off football game and then running downfield to make a tackle, do you? Because she's going to get laid out. She is just going to get flattened by whomever, anybody else on the opposing team. Anybody on offense is going to take her out. Because that's just based on size, strength, agility, everything else. She's just going to get whacked. So the females, you'll see the female kicker, and even if they have a great kickoff, they just run over to the sidelines. Their job is not to be running downfield, providing additional coverage, is it? No. Somebody gave them an opportunity to go do a little kick. All right. So even in there, I think, it's just, you're not competing on like to like, basis and therefore, but powerlifting, I think, is probably powerlifting, swimming. How about, I know Bill Burr does an example where he says, now, what if you let LeBron James, NBA player, probably one of the greater NBA players of all time. I would say he is not the greatest, but I just think he's annoying. I don't like LeBron James. I think what he says, he pops off with stuff. He just doesn't even understand it. He just says stuff. He kind of reacts. I'm not really into that. You throw him, Bill Burr does a bit where you throw him into the WNBA, right? The Women's Professional Basketball League. He's going to score 800 points a game. He's going to absolutely dominate the sport. When's that going to happen? Some trans players just like, I identify as a woman. I'm 6'11", 265 pounds. And, I can dunk with my elbows through the rim. How's that going to go? Because even when you watch, our fine gal that got arrested, Brittany in Russia, had a little weed on her. That did not go over well. She's one of the great basketball players in the WNBA. And when you see her dunk, you're like, ooh, yeah. You take a LeBron James who identifies as a woman, put him in that league, it's lights out. It's out. I mean, it's just over and done with. It's just total mockery. That could happen, right? That could happen because that's the road we are heading down. Just this whole sports where, say, female car driver, that to me, that's a pretty level playing field. That to me, all right, let her rip. Danica Kirkpatrick, I think it was. Let her rip. I mean, why not? That to me makes sense because it's less physical ability than it is touch and skill and putting everything together where you're basically running the car. And it might even be an advantage because she's lighter than some of her competitors. And so you've got more horsepower, you're going to use less gas. That would be my example there. But people picking up, doing a squat, doing a bench press, doing a clean and jerk, whatever it is, big, heavy lifting moves. The biological females are just going to get absolutely crushed. And that's what's happening. And it's happening in Canada. Can you believe this is happening in Canada? What is wrong with Canada right now? I have a lot of people in Canada that make comments. Yep, I'm Canadian. Things aren't going so well here. I'm sorry to hear that, but we see on a national level, the politics in Canada. It's like, oh, what are you guys doing? And, competition like this, where somebody speaks out about, hey, this isn't exactly fair that I'm competing against a man who identifies as a woman, and I'm getting absolutely shellacked. These people spend years and years and years, training for these competitions. How about bodybuilding? I wonder if we'll get to a stage where you've got trans bodybuilders. What's that gonna look like? Like physically, I don't even want to know, right? I don't really want to know. That's not something I'm interested in, right? The boys over here, girls over here. Anybody else? You guys got to work that out. Just not on the stage. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Catch up on the next one. Bye for now.